Good everyone and welcome to another vlog for the Exodus 7 to 12 KGV project. In this week I have a few things to show, so I'm going to just jump into it. So last week I did a very quick tutorial on how to create that sort of relief effect, on a wall or whatever. And I wanted it to be a little bit more dynamic for a video. There's this one video where they made an advertisement. I don't know if it was for a school or whatever, but they used chalk and a chalkboard to create this animation, and it was absolutely stunning. And I want to go for something that looks like that. Unfortunately, with this kind of relief look, because you have all these chips and stuff, it creates a very VHS kind of feel. A very old VHS kind of feel. Noisy, not smooth, blurry, wobbly, that sort of thing. Which ironically is what it would be if you put it on plaster. So what I did was I reduced the frame rate to go for that, let's just be a little bit more realistic and go for fewer frames. And it actually does produce a fairly nice result. So I'm going to play you what that looks like now. Now, to a certain extent, I do feel that this is kind of more like an old film, sort of like the drive-ins or whatever. But at the same time, it also does look like a relief effect. It's a very contradicting kind of feel, especially this part with Pharaoh. It especially looks like old film. But I think it's still something that needs a little work. But I really do like the results so far. So basically what this is everything is animated, and it's processed at 30 frames per second. So that means every frame is different. It wobbles, it shifts slightly, the chips are different with every frame. The staining kind of feel is different with every frame. The saturation in specific areas is different every frame. Everything is unique. Everything is dynamic. Everything is different for every frame. It's not like a cycle of every 5 seconds or every 5 frames it's the same thing. It's not. Every frame is different. I'm using noise to control it because I know that with procedural textures, when you reach a certain point, it starts getting blocky. The algorithm can only go so far. So that's not the best solution anyway. Having said that, I really, really like this result. So even if I don't get it to look entirely like an animated relief, which I don't think has ever been done anyway, I do speak under correction. And I'm not talking about just painting over and painting over again and painting over again. I'm talking about like scraping, resurface paint, scraping, resurface paint, scraping, resurface paint, the proper way that a surface is prepared for relief work. I haven't seen that done in animation. So there's very little to go on in terms of this stuff. So I just went for a painting on a wall, with scrapings. So this is the result. I like it, but I do think that it does need a little bit more work. That's just my personal feeling. I want to show you what the 30 frames per second one looks like and why I say it looks like VHS. So this is the 30 frames per second version. As you can see, it is different with every frame. But you can also see that this looks more like film. Very old film that's very grainy. It's got all the scratches, all those funny highlights around the edges. So this looks much less like a relief. It does. I'm very honest about it. I think this looks more like old video. Especially pay attention to the red. As it desaturates and saturates with every frame, it creates that wobble effect that you would expect from a very old VHS cassette tape. It does. Cassette tape, same thing. Yeah. But I really do like the look of it. I do. Watch the circle around him when he does that. Look at that. That wobble effect. It's identical to VHS. It really is. Completely unintentional. That's not my goal. My goal is to just go for something that's unique. So if you take this and you just have the frame rate, you really do get a suggestion that it was handmade. See the difference? So, still needs more work. That's all I can say. It still needs more work. But I have to say, I like it so far. Really do. Anyway, moving on. So the shots for this week are not done yet. I have managed to finish one for the week, which is this one you can see right now. I wanted to go for action line transitions here, but the problem is that the wall is consistent. Look at that. You've got the same dents and stuff. So I didn't want to go for that, contrary to what I wanted to do last week. So this is the look I'm going for right now. So I'm just going to play you that shot, and then I'm going to show you the one that I'm still busy with. A little jerky, but you get the idea. So what makes this one especially interesting is its 3D aspect. And I'm going to show you that right now. So this is the 3D one. As you can see, there's quite a difference between the pots on the table and the pots on the floor, even though on the relief itself you won't get a sense of depth, at least not to that extent. So it kind of goes against the whole feel of hieroglyphics are supposed to be flat. It's just a kind of being playful with the whole 3D element. I went with the old 3D method for this because it's a very, you could say, flat scene. It's not very sharp in the sense that there's a lot of open and empty space between the foremost object and the further back objects. The more gradual it is, the better for the old method. The more stark it is, the better it is for the new method. So I'm kind of working on how to get the best of both into one method so that it runs extremely fast. But I really like this 3D version. Plus now you guys can see it run extra smooth. You can see the blood taking over very clearly on the black and white because it's very slight, the difference in the hue. But it is actually visible. You just need to pay very close attention to actually see it. You can see it there. There it goes. But yeah. Moving on to the new shot. Okay, so this one is a bit of a weird one. Not in the sense that it's a funny shot. It's just a weird one in terms of the way that it's rendered. It's actually two shots. One is supposed to just be him, kind of just shrugging it off, the whole water into blood thing. And the next one is him going into his house. But because of the fact that the walk cycle and the curve is there and everything is in the same scene, rendering it once, everything is a much better way to go. It's much easier. It also makes sure that you have enough meat to edit with. So ignore the awkward middle part. I'm just going to show you the shot. It's going to play a little jerky, but just bear with me on this. Okay, so basically it will be this, and then he starts walking off, and the shot will cut off. And after he passes this block thing, that's when the second one kicks in. Just to skip this whole awkward middle part. But around here, I want to put, so far, might change. I want to put his heart over here that's hardening further because scripture says that he hardened his heart and he wouldn't listen to them. So the heart hardening has to be shown somewhere. So this is a very good space until he passes this way. for it to be up here. So this whole block passing thing over here won't be in the final. It might be for the shot over here, you know, going from about there as a transition point. But because he kind of cuts off at the frame, it's kind of awkward. I'm not really crazy about it. But it is an option. So this still needs a little bit of thinking over and praying over and all that kind of stuff. So, still a lot to do. So basically this thing will just go into compositing, and with the combination of the heart and the depth map for this scene in general, you can get a fairly good sense of depth. Oof, but I tell you, I struggled heavily with this thing because I used the nonlinear action editor, NLA editor. Basically what that does, as I've spoken in previous videos before, is it's an editor like the VSE, like the video sequence editor. It's a nonlinear editor, but it's for the actions that take place in Blender. So basically what you do is you have a walk cycle, and you want that walk cycle to start at a certain point and stop at a certain point. Now, you don't go copying those keyframes and hope that you can get them working where the transition points are. No, you use the NLA to either extend that if you've cycled the loop cycle, the walk cycle, or you can have it just repeat if it's been keyframed correctly, the range of the animation. And you add those actions in an editor, and the computer plays through those animations in accordance with the sequencer and, of course, where you're at in the nonlinear action editor. So I'm going to show you what that project looks like. It's a total mess when it comes to the NLA because I still struggle immensely to get this thing down. It's a very amazing tool, but I still struggle like heck to keep sense of what is going on. So I'm just going to quickly show you that. Okay, so this is just what it looks like. This is the camera's animation. This gray action over here. As you can see, I do use multiple scenes to get the same stuff consistent. It just makes it easier. I just want to... Where's that camera animation? I know it's in here somewhere. I think I just shrunk it out of existence. Where is the camera anyway? That's the material, that's the key. Okay, here's the camera. So you can see this is the new camera action, and these are old camera actions, and they have been muted. And of course, we have way down here, we have Pharaoh's action. So we have his eyes blinking, which has been disabled for some reason. I don't know why I disabled it. It's not necessary. The scene is too quick, so it doesn't matter whether he blinks or not. But the scene basically kicks off over here with Pharaoh kind of shrugging him off. And then I want him to start walking away. So it fades from the shrugging it off to the actual walk cycle. That's why the animation is smooth. But one thing to remember is that when you have this fade, it can only fade what has been keyframed. I had this major issue where Pharaoh would turn around and then he would just like hop up and then go into the walk cycle. And the reason that happened was because the midsection, that wobble cage thing, wasn't keyframed within this action. So what happened is it popped to an instant Pharaoh walk cycle animated position. And I couldn't figure out what it was. Until God showed me that was the problem. And the same happened with his left hand. It just kind of jerked backwards. You know, the elbow kind of came back up as if you were aiming to elbow someone in the chin or something. So it's a lot of stuff to watch out for. Sometimes it's something like this. Sometimes it's something you animated in a wrong way. It can be a lot of stuff. But this is a very, very powerful tool, and it's a very useful tool, and it's one that I really need to spend time figuring out and finding out exactly how it works. Because, wow. It's a really, really awesome tool. So I do encourage you guys, if you do animation, learn how this thing works because it can make your job a lot faster and a lot easier. When I started out when I started working with Exodus, I didn't have a clue about this thing. It was one of those things where you just open up the node editor and you see, whoa, and then you just close it again, you go back to 3D because this is comfortable, this is familiar. Don't do that. Learn what each section is for and how it can improve your workflow. Don't be afraid of stuff. It is intimidating. It's not always easy to learn a new addition. For example, rigging. I still avoid it. I know how to do it, but I hate it because it's so time-consuming. I much rather have the make human character already rigged, IK working, etc., and just go for that. So anyway, I think there's something else. Let me just check. Yes, there is something else. Okay. The something else is this shot over here. Now, remember last week, I'm just going to rebuild these because this was what last week's shot looked like. You know, he came in, it kind of looked like he was going to hit the ground and all that kind of stuff. And I had to redo it because it just didn't work. It really, really didn't work. I had to redo this thing twice. I think you're looking at the second pass here because Aaron isn't fading as small. So I think you're looking at the second pass where the country kind of cut off at the top. I'm not happy with that. I rendered it like that to see what it looked like, and I'm not crazy about it. So I'm going to re-render this quickly, and we'll see if it changes. Yep, it changes. Okay. So what happens now is the country comes in, Aaron fades out sooner, and then the expansion kicks off, and the country never stops completely. And then it fades. So it's like a continuous thing. You can see that it just slows down like it's at a stop street. The expansion starts, and boom. I also changed the approach to Aaron's 3D. So I'm going to quickly show you that. I haven't rendered it out, but I'm going to show it to you in the compositor. Just need to get my own glasses on. Okay, so now I can actually see what's going on. So what happens is I think I switched to the old method because it accommodated Aaron a little bit more to stay consistent. Yeah, I used the old method. And then, of course, he comes in and he fades out, and he has to fade out quite quickly. So he does, and the country stays in the background, just like with the previous shot. Just want to get rid of that X. It's kind of disturbing. Okay, so there's Aaron, and he's coming in very quickly. There we go. And the country doesn't stop. You can also see that you're struggling to see the red when it comes to the grayscale anaglyph because their brightness values are so similar. So I'm going to switch to color. It's actually less processing to go for the color since the picture is already color. So there you can see Aaron coming. There is some severe ghosting here on the side of Aaron. I have no idea why exactly that is, but it's really annoying. I think it has to do with the difference between the fore and background. But anyway, I might re-render that if the new method I'm going to try later does actually work better. Because stuff like this is not good. It's really, really not good. I'm fine with the country's depth because it's flat, but not happy with Aaron's. So, and of course, that fades to the other one, which you already saw. So let me show you that one in color as well. So it comes in, there the blood comes, fills in the pots, and there you go. Now, interestingly enough, I did some research on vessels of wood. Oftentimes, you wouldn't be able to see that it's a vessel of wood, at least not in Egypt, because they would cover them in precious metals like gold and other soft materials that you wouldn't necessarily use on its own as a cup or whatever. So that's why I put this gold bowl here as a vessel of wood. Ironic, isn't it? And these are stone jars. They have the most beautiful stone jars. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And this is, of course, just the magic texture that's been hardened. It's very nice. It's very ornate, very elegant. And, of course, there's a big difference between these two. You can see that this one's very close and this one's very far in comparison, even though there's very little difference between these three. These four. These three. Goodness, I need to learn how to count. Okay. So, yeah. That is it for this week. There is a few more things in the post, but yeah, you can check those out in the description. Have a great one, and God bless you.